Most people are killing their aloe vera slowly, without knowing it. They water it too much, use the wrong soil, and put it in the wrong spot, then blame the plant when it turns yellow and dies. Here's what nobody tells you. Aloe vera was carried on Columbus's ships across the Atlantic, buried with Egyptian pharaohs, and used by Cleopatra as a daily beauty treatment. Secret number 9 is quietly destroying plants in homes right now. Secret number 1 contains an image that will completely change how you see this plant forever. Number 20. Stop watering it so much. This is the number 1 reason aloe vera dies in homes around the world. And it happens because people treat it like a normal houseplant. Aloe vera comes from the dry, rocky regions of the Arabian Peninsula and northeastern Africa. It has been surviving months without rainfall for millions of years. The thick leaves you see are not decoration. They are water tanks, storing enough moisture to keep the plant alive through conditions that would kill most other plants within days. When you water it too often, the roots sit in wet soil and begin to rot from the outside inward. Root rot is invisible until it is too late. By the time the leaves turn soft and brown at the base, the roots are already destroyed beyond saving. Here's the rule. Stick your finger 2 inches into the soil. If it feels even slightly damp, walk away. Wait until the top 2 inches are completely dry before giving it any water at all. In summer, that usually means every 2 to 3 weeks. In winter, once a month is often enough. When you do water, do it deeply. Pour slowly until water runs out of the drainage holes at the bottom. Then leave it completely alone. That one change saves more plants than anything else on this list. But overwatering is only half the problem. The other half is what you are planting it in. Number 19. Use the right soil. Regular potting mix stays wet for days after watering. For most houseplants, that is fine. For aloe vera, it is a slow death sentence. Aloe vera needs soil that drains so fast the pot feels almost dry within an hour of watering. The mix that works: 2 parts coarse sand or perlite to 1 part regular potting compost. Light, gritty, fast draining. Cactus and succulent mix from any garden center, sir, does the same job straight from the bag. Never use garden soil in a pot. It compacts over time into a dense, airless block that aloe vera roots cannot push through. Repot into fresh cactus mix every 2 to 3 years, even if the plant looks healthy. Old soil loses its porous structure and begins holding moisture longer than it should. If you want more secrets like these delivered every week, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel exists to give you the practical plant knowledge that most gardening books leave out. The right soil drains fast. The right pot makes sure the water has somewhere to go. Number 18. Always use a pot with drainage holes. No drainage holes means standing water pooling at the bottom of the pot, directly beneath the roots, permanently. Even perfect watering cannot fix this. The water has nowhere to go, and what it creates down there smells like a swamp and functions like one. Here is what most people never know. Christopher Columbus carried potted aloe vera plants on his ships during his voyages across the Atlantic in the 1490s, specifically to treat burns and wounds among his crew. Those plants almost certainly lived in clay containers with drainage, because any sailor who had kept a plant at sea understood that a waterlogged pot eventually means a dead plant. 4 centuries before modern horticulture, seafarers knew this intuitively. You are in good company following the same logic. Plastic pots work if they have drainage holes. Glass and ceramic retain moisture longer than terracotta, which means watering even less frequently than normal. No drainage holes in your favorite pot? Use it as a decorative outer container and place a terracotta pot inside. Empty any collected water from the outer pot within 30 minutes of watering. The pot controls how fast the soil dries. What comes next controls how fast the plant grows. Number 17. Give it the right amount of sunlight. Aloe vera needs bright light. But direct, harsh afternoon sun through a window can burn the leaves orange and brown because glass intensifies heat without the airflow outdoor conditions naturally provide. A burned aloe vera leaf looks like something left too close to a heater, edges going pale and papery before the whole leaf collapses. A plant not getting enough light tells you in a language you can read once you know it. The leaves stretch desperately toward the window, growing thinner and more widely spaced, like a plant reaching for something it will never quite touch. This is called etiolation. Moving it to a brighter spot fixes it within weeks. Here is a useful test. Hold your hand about a foot above a white sheet of paper in the spot you are considering. In light bright enough for aloe vera to thrive, your hand casts a clear, sharp shadow. A faint or blurry shadow means the light level is too low for strong growth. Good light speeds up growth significantly. What comes next speeds it up even more. Number 16. Understand the temperature it needs. Aloe vera grows best between 60 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 18 to 27 degrees Celsius. Most homes stay within this range through most of the year, which is why it works so well as a houseplant. Here is what most people have no idea about. Egyptian pharaohs were buried with aloe vera plants inside their tombs, which is where the ancient name, the plant of immortality, came from. Archaeologists have found dried aloe vera in tombs dating back over 3,000 years. Given that Egypt rarely drops below the temperatures aloe vera prefers, those burial plants probably outlasted their owners by considerable time. The lesson: keep it warm and it lives almost indefinitely. Temperature sets the pace for everything. The next secret sets the upper limit for how big the plant gets. Number 15. Choose the right pot size. Most people put aloe vera in a pot that is too big, reasoning that more space means faster growth. It does the opposite. Choose a pot only 1 to 2 inches wider than the current root ball. Enough room to grow without large areas of wet, rootless soil sitting around roots that cannot reach it. When roots start emerging from drainage holes, or the plant looks unstable and top-heavy, move up one size. One size only. Never jump to a much larger pot in a single move. Here is what nobody tells you. The right pot size is the one that makes the soil dry out in roughly the same time frame as the plant needs between waterings. If the soil is still wet after 2 weeks, the pot is too big. If it dries in 3 days, the pot might be too small. Match the pot to the watering interval and everything else becomes easier. Right pot size keeps the roots in the conditions they evolved for. The next secret keeps the soil itself working correctly over the long run. Number 14. Fertilize only during growing season. Over-fertilized aloe vera produces soft, watery growth that looks healthy and isn't. Pests target it first. Disease exploits it fastest. The plant is essentially producing tissue it was never designed to produce, in quantities it was never designed to sustain. Here is something that reframes the whole fertilizer question. In the wild, aloe vera grows in soil so nutrient poor that researchers use it as a benchmark for studying extreme plant survival. During the active growing season, spring through early autumn, one diluted application of liquid cactus fertilizer at half the recommended strength once a month is enough. That is it. Do not fertilize in autumn or winter. Nutrients the plant cannot use accumulate in the soil and burn the roots, producing exactly the browning symptoms that make people think the plant is underwatered. It is one of the more frustrating misdiagnoses in houseplant care because the instinctive response, adding more water, makes the actual problem worse. Less, often, lower concentration. Those 3 words are the entire fertilizing protocol. Feed lightly in summer. In winter, something else becomes far more important than feeding. Number 13. Let it rest in winter. Aloe vera slows down in winter. Growth drops dramatically. Water use falls, and the plant needs almost nothing from you. Trying to push it through this period with more water, more fertilizer, or artificial lighting usually ends badly. The plant cannot process what you are giving it and ends up weakened rather than stimulated, like someone forced to run laps when their body is trying to sleep. Reduce watering to once a month or less. Stop feeding completely. Put it in the brightest spot available and leave it entirely alone. Patience in winter pays back visibly in spring. Now here's the secret that is quietly destroying aloe vera plants in homes right now. Number 12. Remove dead leaves from the base. As aloe vera grows, the oldest leaves at the very bottom naturally die back. They flatten, press against the pot, and shrivel to a papery brown husk. Most people leave them because removing them seems unnecessary. That decision creates the exact conditions that kill the plant slowly and invisibly. Pull dead leaves gently downward and away from the stem. They usually release cleanly with a slight tug. If they resist, use clean scissors rather than pulling harder and risking stem damage. 3 minutes of work every few weeks prevents a category of problems that take months to fix once they establish themselves. The base is clear. What comes next deals with what happens when the plant is doing well. Almost too well. Number 11. Separate the pups when they appear. When aloe vera is genuinely thriving, it produces small baby plants at its base called pups. These are connected to the mother plant underground and share her root system, her water supply, and her stored nutrients. Left attached, pups quietly drain the mother plant. She is feeding multiple root systems simultaneously, splitting her resources across plants she did not choose to support. The result is a mother plant that looks fine, but grows noticeably slower than one growing alone. Like a tree trying to grow in the shadow of its own branches. Unpot the whole plant. Brush soil away from the roots carefully until you can see where each pup connects. Cut the connecting root with a sharp, sterilized knife. Leave the cut surface of the pup to dry in a warm, shaded spot for 2 to 3 days. This allows the wound to callus over before soil contact, sealing it against the rot that open cuts attract. If you have made it this far and have not hit the like button yet, do it now. It costs you nothing, and it tells us you want more guides like this one. The next secret is one most people have never thought of, and it makes a measurable difference to how fast the plant grows. Number 10. Clean the leaves. Here is what almost nobody knows about aloe vera leaves. A single leaf can contain over 15,000 stomata per square centimeter. These are microscopic pores the plant uses to breathe, exchange gases, and drive the photosynthesis that powers all growth. Dust settling on the leaf surface does not just dull the appearance. It suffocates thousands of microscopic mouths at once, reducing the plant's breathing capacity by a measurable percentage with every layer that accumulates. Wipe each leaf with a damp cloth once a month, plain water only. Commercial leaf shine products coat those same pores with a waxy film, making the leaf look glossy and the plant perform worse. They solve the aesthetic problem by creating a biological one. Mineral deposits from hard tap water leave white or gray spots on the leaf surface after watering splashes and evaporates. These also block light from reaching the leaf tissue beneath them. A cloth dampened with diluted white vinegar removes mineral deposits cleanly. Follow with plain water to remove any vinegar residue. 3 minutes once a month. A clean plant is measurably more productive than a dusty one in the same spot at the same watering schedule. The next secret is about what happens inside the roots when things go wrong. And catching it early is the difference between saving the plant and losing it entirely. Number 9. Spot root. Rot before it is too late. Root rot never announces itself with drama. It works quietly, underground, invisible, until the damage is already done. By the time the base of the plant turns soft and the lower leaves collapse like deflated balloons, most of the root system is already destroyed. What you are seeing at that point is not the beginning of a problem. It is the end stage of one that has been developing for weeks. The early signs are subtle enough that most people miss them entirely. Leaves lose their firm, plump texture and feel slightly soft when squeezed gently, like a water balloon that is not quite full. The plant looks dull rather than bright. New growth stops. The soil smells sour and musty, even when the surface appears completely dry. If you suspect root rot, unpot immediately. Do not wait. Healthy roots look like firm white noodles, pale and clean and slightly springy under pressure. Rotted roots look like wet, dark paper and smell like something died in the pot, because something has. Cut away every rotted section with clean scissors. Allow the remaining roots to dry in open air for 24 hours. Repot into fresh, completely dry cactus mix. Caught early, Root rot is fixable in weeks. Caught late, the plant is a memory. The next secret prevents the conditions that allow it to start. Number 8. Improve air circulation around the plant. Here is something most gardeners have never considered. In its native habitat on the Arabian Peninsula, aloe vera grows in wind speeds that would knock most houseplants off a shelf. The plant evolved in open, exposed terrain, where still air is the exception rather than the rule. Still air indoors raises humidity at the leaf surface and slows the drying of soil between waterings. Both conditions move the plant closer to the fungal problems and root issues that kill it. Do not put aloe vera in a glass cabinet, a closed terrarium, or any enclosed display space. These trap humidity in exactly the way a desert plant cannot tolerate. A room that is occasionally ventilated, or a gentle fan running nearby at low speed, makes a measurable difference to soil drying time and fungal risk. This costs nothing. What comes next costs a little more time, but changes the growth rate more than almost anything else on this list. Number 7. Move it outside. In summer, outdoor natural light on a cloudy summer day is still many times more intense than the brightest windowsill in your home. An aloe vera that has spent winter growing slowly on a ledge indoors can nearly double its growth rate within weeks of going outside. The leaves thicken. The color deepens to a richer, more saturated green. New growth pushes from the center with a speed that indoor growing never produces. Move it to a spot with bright indirect light or morning sun and afternoon shade. Full outdoor afternoon sun on a plant acclimatized to indoor light will burn the leaves within days. The cells in those leaves adapted to lower light levels. They need gradual adjustment to handle the full intensity of direct outdoor sun. Start in shade for the first week. Brighter indirect light in the second week. A more exposed position from the third week onward, if that is where it will spend summer. Bring it inside when night temperatures drop below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 degrees Celsius, in early autumn. Summer outside transforms growth rate in a way that no indoor intervention replicates. The next secret transforms something even more permanent than the current season. Number 6. Repot at the right time. The best time to repot aloe vera is spring, at the start of the growing season, when the plant has maximum energy to push new roots into fresh soil and recover from the disturbance of repotting. Repotting in winter is the equivalent of performing surgery on a patient and asking them to run immediately afterward. The disturbed root system has to wait months before it can begin recovering properly. The plant sits in fresh soil it cannot yet process. Soil that also cannot dry efficiently because no active roots are drawing moisture from it. The result is the exact wet soil conditions that cause problems regardless of how well everything else has been managed. Always use fresh cactus mix when repotting. Old soil loses its porous structure with time and begins behaving like regular potting mix in terms of moisture retention. Spring repotting sets up the best growing season. The next secret sets up the best harvest from it. Number 5. Harvest leaves correctly. Snapping a leaf from wherever is easiest to reach leaves a ragged wound that takes weeks to seal and gives you a leaf with less gel than a properly harvested one. Here is what most people have no idea about. The clear gel inside a mature aloe vera leaf is 99% water, but that remaining 1% contains over 75 active compounds, including vitamins A, C, E, and B12, 8 essential amino acids, enzymes, minerals, and polysaccharides that drive the wound-healing properties documented across 6,000 years of use. The gel is almost entirely water that contains an extraordinary concentration of active biology. Harvest the wrong leaf, and you get less of all of it. Outer leaves are the oldest, the largest, and the most gel-rich. Cut cleanly at the base with a sharp knife. Never remove more than 1 or 2 at a time. After cutting, stand the leaf upright in a small cup for 15 minutes. A yellow liquid drains from the cut end. That liquid is aloin, classified as a pharmaceutical-grade laxative in several countries. Enough consumed orally causes severe gastrointestinal distress lasting for hours. On sensitive skin, it causes irritation and chemical burns in sufficient concentration. It has nothing to do with healing. Let it drain completely before using anything from the leaf. The clear gel beneath the yellow layer is what 4,000 years of documented medicinal use is actually based on. Harvest correctly, and the plant recovers within days. The next secret protects the plant the moment the knife leaves the leaf. Number 4. Treat the cut site after harvesting. Every cut on an aloe vera plant is an open wound in the warm, humid environment of most homes. That wound is an entry point for bacterial and fungal pathogens waiting in the soil, in the air, and on every surface nearby. Allow the cut site to dry and seal in warm, moving air for 24 to 48 hours before watering the plant again. Moisture introduced at an open cut during this window travels directly into the plant's tissue before the wound has sealed, carrying whatever it picked up along the way. Here is something most guides skip entirely. Powdered cinnamon dusted lightly over the cut site accelerates the sealing process. Cinnamon contains cinnamaldehyde, a compound with confirmed antifungal and antibacterial properties, studied specifically for wound treatment applications in plants. It is not a guarantee, but in humid environments, where cut sites take longer to seal naturally, it provides meaningful protection at a cost of almost nothing. Once sealed, the cut leaves a small permanent scar. The plant is completely unbothered by it. Treat the cut correctly, and the plant moves on quickly. Ignore it, and problems can originate from that exact spot months later, long after the harvest is forgotten. Number 3. Watch for pests. Aloe vera is generally pest resistant, but 2 insects find it regardless of how well it is grown, and both of them are patient enough to cause serious damage before most people notice they are there. Mealybugs look like tiny pieces of white cotton wool tucked into the narrow gaps where leaves meet the stem, so small and so well hidden that most people mistake them for mineral deposits or fluff until the plant starts declining without explanation. Scale insects look like small brown bumps cemented to the leaf surface, easy to mistake for part of the leaf itself until you try to scrape one off. Both pierce the leaf tissue and suck sap out slowly, weakening the plant over weeks while leaving almost no visible trace of the damage they are causing above the soil line. Check once a month at the leaf bases and stem junctions. A cotton ball soaked in rubbing alcohol, pressed directly onto each mealybug, kills it on contact without harming the plant. The alcohol evaporates in seconds, leaving no residue and no damage to the leaf surface. Pests caught in the first month cause minimal damage. Pests discovered after 6 months can set a plant back by an entire growing season. The next secret separates an aloe vera plant that merely stays alive from one that multiplies freely and costs nothing ever again. Number 2. Grow multiple plants from one. One aloe vera plant, properly cared for over 5 years, can produce more than a dozen pups. Each of those pups produces its own pups. The compounding mathematics of aloe vera propagation means a single plant bought today can fill an entire home within a few years at 0 additional cost. Here's what most people have no idea about. Cleopatra, the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt, incorporated aloe vera gel into her daily skincare routine. Nefertiti did the same. 2 of the most historically powerful women in the ancient world were growing and harvesting from this exact species. Neither of them was buying it in a bottle because the bottle did not exist. They understood that the plant itself, grown and harvested correctly, was the product. The moment you understand aloe vera as a self-multiplying resource, rather than a single purchase, the economics of growing it change entirely. Every pup removed from the mother plant is a free gift, a free skincare product, a free air purifier, or a free start for someone else's windowsill. Give pups away in small terracotta pots with a note explaining the watering rule from number 20. Most people who kill aloe vera kill it by overwatering. One sentence of instruction prevents the most common outcome. More plants, more gel, more propagation. A resource that builds itself for free. Number 1. Understand what aloe vera actually is. This is the secret that explains every other secret on this list. Aloe vera is not a houseplant that tolerates neglect. It is a desert survivor that is confused by attention. Alexander the Great, one of the most strategically brilliant military minds in recorded history, is said to have diverted his campaign in 325 BC to conquer the island of Socotra in the Arabian Sea. The reason was not military positioning. It was aloe vera. Socotra was the primary source of aloe in the ancient world, and Alexander needed it to treat his soldiers' wounds on campaign. He conquered an island for a plant. That same plant is now sitting in your home, possibly slowly dying because someone is watering it twice a week. But here's the image to carry with you. Somewhere in the highland plains of Yemen, there are aloe vera plants that have been growing for over 200 years. Nobody waters them. Nobody feeds them. Nobody repots them in spring or moves them inside before frost. They sit in cracked, rocky soil under a sun that would blister unprotected skin in minutes, and they have outlasted every human who ever walked past them. They have outlasted empires. They are still growing right now. In its natural environment, aloe vera grows in nutrient-poor, fast-draining, rocky soil with months between significant rainfall, intense sun, wide daily temperature swings, constant wind, no shelter, no supplemental feeding, no attentive caretaker checking moisture levels every few days. Its entire biology is built around surviving scarcity. The fastest growing aloe vera plants in the world are not in homes where gardeners pay close daily attention. They are in the homes where someone put the plant in the right spot, watered it correctly, and then mostly forgot about it. That is not neglect. That is understanding. And it is the difference between a plant sitting in the same small pot for 3 years barely growing, and one that fills its container every season, produces regular harvests, and generates enough pups to cover every windowsill in the house. Treat it like the 200-year-old desert survivor it is trying to be. Everything else follows from that. Stop babysitting a plant that spent millions of years learning to survive alone. Put it in the right spot, water it correctly, and then get out of its way. That is when it starts giving back. In gel, in pups, in a plant that looks better every season instead of worse. Click the next video on the left, because what we cover there about other desert plants that thrive on neglect takes everything you just learned and makes it work across an entire collection.